and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing a borderline declutter. So instead of doing a full declutter where I decide palettes I'm going to keep, get rid of, and just throw away because they are trash, instead of doing that, I'm going to be deciding which palettes I'm going to keep, which palettes I'm going to get rid of, and palettes that I'm going to force myself to try out over the next month or two, and then I'll be posting an update video in a month or two with those palettes that I try out. So the reason for my declutter is I own way too many palettes for one single person, and I know I will never use up all of them, and a lot of the palettes I have in here are dupes for other palettes in my collection. So with that being said, let's get into it before I ramble too much because we have a lot to go over. Okay, so I guess we're going to start from the top. Also, the reason I have a notebook right here is to write down the palettes that I'm going to be forcing myself to try out so that way I don't really forget about them in my collection as I do with a lot of these. So the first palette I see is the BH Cosmetics Girly Bible palette, which I actually really love and I just recently got, so I would definitely be keeping this. I've been using it a lot lately and it's just a really nice palette. I enjoy the highlighters and the matte shades. The highlighters are probably my favorite. I might do a full review video on this, including a couple looks, so if you'd like that, comment down below. Penguin. Okay, so the next thing I see on top is this Tarte's Pro palette, and I recently got this back in, I believe, May. And it's just a really good palette. I really like the smell and the color scheme. I typically reach for the purples in here and the reds more than the neutral tones because I don't really feel like the neutral tones are a good formula for neutrals, but the formula works great with brighter colors. I don't know, it's strange. But I will be keeping this one and hopefully using it even more once I get rid of some of these palettes that I don't enjoy. We're just going to start over here and work our way over to there. Here we have the BH Cosmetics Shan XO palette. I really love this palette. I use the lipsticks rarely because I need to get a new lip brush and I'm very lazy, so I feel like even if I got one I wouldn't really reach for them that much. But the mattes I really enjoy and the shimmers are pretty good too. I actually enjoy the mattes in this more than the shimmers, which is strange because normally with kind of lower end palettes the shimmers are usually way better than the mattes, but the shimmers in here are just kind of okay and the mattes are really good. So I will be keeping this one, but I am going to put it on a use more list, especially for the lipstick side, but this is not a lipstick video, this is full palettes. So the next one we have in here is the ColourPop Yes Please palette, which I also just recently got. I bought this maybe 3 weeks ago-ish. I bought it about a month ago and I think I received it like 2 weeks ago. And I really love this. There are so much hype around this. I don't even have to talk about it long because I know you've already heard of it. But I will be keeping this because I really enjoy the shades and it is just something cool for my personal preferences since I do enjoy a brighter look most of the time, but still not too crazy. The next palette we're going to be getting into is my favorite neutral palette ever. This is probably my most used palette aside from the Makeup Forever one, and it is nuts. I've talked about this before on my channel. If you've watched my other videos, this is my favorite palette, like second favorite. The mattes in here are so good. They're so nice. They blend so easy and they take so little effort. These shades have just recently started been receiving love, while these three have received love for over 2 years now, and I'm still wondering how they're still kicking. But these aren't very powdery shadows if you're interested in these, but I will definitely be keeping this palette. So far, I haven't made a lot of progress, but I think as we get further this way, it will be a little bit better. The next palette is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance, which, strangely enough, I don't love like everyone else does. I enjoy the shades, but I do not reach for these neutral shades ever. I don't even use this base shade anymore because I feel like it has flakes of shimmer, and I like a full matte base over my eye primer. The only shades I really use in here are Love Letter, Venetian Red. I haven't watched enough videos on this. Buono Fresco, Primavera, Vemer, and Realgar. Now, I feel like that's enough to keep the palette for, but I feel like some of these shades are never really going to get the use they deserve. So I've been debating on depotting these shadows, but once I depot shades, I rarely use them. Like, I never touch them. I have a problem all over the place because I accidentally tapped my shelves, which I'm filming this on. but I will be keeping this for now. I think I am going to put it on my use more list. That way I kind of really know to give it the love it needs. The next thing is this Makeup Forever palette, which is another daily use of mine. I use this almost every single day, and I really don't use shimmers and palettes because I mainly use this because these are so gorgeous and they are so universal, and I keep yawning. Please help. And the black in here is really nice. These just are all shimmer except for the black, and they're all very nice and I enjoy them very much. And I feel like if I was going to purchase any of these shades as the full size, it would probably be either this shade or that shade. But I will be keeping this, obviously. Next up is this BH Cosmetics Warm Marble palette. I have like mixed feelings about this. I feel like these shades are pretty good, but the orange kind of falls short. The shimmer here is very nice, but the orange and pink shades, which are probably the only unique shades in the palette, are a little bit chunky, a little bit gritty, and not necessarily the best. However, I really like this shade, and I have a dupe for this in the Makeup Revolution palette, the peach version, but I don't think I'm going to be keeping that one, so I'm going to keep this one out and compare it to some of the alternatives I have. I'll just keep it open over here. So now we're going to go to the next palette, which is the Stila Perfect Me, Perfect Hue palette, which I really enjoy. I really like the kind of compactability of these shades and kind of how easy it is to just kind of take this with you and just kind of go, so to speak. The shades in it are pretty good. They're not perfect, but they are pretty good. The swatch, I guess I messed it up. Let me try one more. There we go. They kind of just have a, like, every time something falls, it's gonna happen. It's just gonna have a, like, I guess, rougher texture, which requires a little bit more build up for them to work as well. I do like the blushes in here as well. That one is my favorite, but this pink one has gotten some use as well. They're just a gorgeous palette, and I am going to keep it because I don't think I'll be keeping any more of my compact palettes except maybe the Smashbox cover shot, but we'll get to that. So far, this declutter video has basically just been a like palette collection, but maybe we'll get somewhere. So the next up is the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. I actually don't like this palette except for satin sheets, and as much as I have tried to hold on to this for so long to try and like it because it smells good and I really like satin sheets, I think I'm going to have to pass this palette along to someone who would enjoy it more. So the next palette is the Maybelline The Nudes. I've had this forever, since I was like 10. This was like my first palette. It is old. It honestly belongs in the trash, and I don't really like these anyway. That gold was mainly used when I was like 10, and that was like the only shade I used. Hashtag pan. But I just don't like these. They are very hard, and that's probably because they're old, because some people really like these, but also some people hate them. They're just kind of hard, and they don't blend, and like, they're just not great. So I'm going to pass on this palette to the dumpster. The next thing in here is the LA Colors 28 color palette. If you can tell, this wasn't my first palette, but this was kind of a palette I got when I was 12 or so. So it is about 4 years old, and I think that's a little gross. It's a little past its shelf life, and the main reason I would say that is because these shades, they don't necessarily feel dry, all of them, but they feel kind of strange, and they smell a little weird. They don't smell terribly bad, but I don't really go for stuff that smells strange, and they don't swatch very great. They look pretty decent on the eye, actually, so like $3, this is a steal. And next, we're going to be going into these because I don't want this to collapse before I get back there. This is the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. I really don't reach for this that much, but I do enjoy it when I do, so I'm not really sure. I'm going to put this over here with the ones that I'm going to go through at the end again, so I can kind of see comparative colors, and I'm going to do the same with this Naked Basics Original because I am going to get rid of one of the Naked Basics. That is my goal. But that shade is almost perfectly duped with Frisk, and in the shade it's called Naked 2, and I don't really use blacks in palettes, so I won't really miss Carve, and I have a shade exactly like Faint from Makeup Geek, I think, or if not, I have one in the Shade Light palette, and these shades are all dupeable in my collection as well, so I'm going to really pass this one along. So next up we're gonna go, of course my phone didn't fall this time, with the Smashbox Cover Shop palette in Soft Light. Oh my god, this palette has such a story. It was a disaster, and this palette isn't even that great, so what can you do? But I do enjoy the shades. It's not necessarily the formula that's anything wrong with it, or the fact that they are shimmers. I knew this was an all shimmer palette. I knew what I was getting into. I sometimes love a full shimmer look. The main issue I have with this palette is how similar these shades show up on the lid. These two shades are nearly identical. These two shades are nearly identical. These two shades are nearly identical. The pink right here and this white are the only two shades that can't be duped within the same palette. And I understand that some palettes have a lot of dupes for other palettes, but these are just dupes within the same palette, which is kind of odd, but I do enjoy the formula and I use this quite a bit, and I will be keeping this. I have literally gotten rid of 4 palettes, and I have kept 8 and only put like 3 on patrol. This is not going as great as I hope, but then again, getting rid of 1/4 of my palettes is still quite a bit to a makeup lover as myself. So let's go ahead and go into this. This is my Z palette, which I'm going to keep everything in here. Just thought I'd show you. Also, this is the MAC shade I use, and it is Brulee, not Vanilla. I was wrong. That's it. So next up is this Ulta palette that I got for free when I bought a lash applicator thing from Ulta. I don't know what it was for sure. I've never used this. I've swatched it like once, I think, the other day, but I have never used these shadows. And the other side is actually this really cool like blush, bronzer, banana powder, 2 glosses, well, a gloss, a lip cream, a brush, a liner, and a foam shadow applicator. And I have swatched these. I don't really like them, and I really like the packaging, which is like the worst reason ever to keep anything. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm going to pass this along to someone who will actually use it and love it and appreciate it. Another one of the someone who will love and appreciate it, but not me, is this BH Cosmetics Pride and Prejudice Zombies palette. As you can tell, I took the highlighter out because that was the only shade I liked in here. Accidentally broke it in the removal process. I probably should have just left it in. So now it's a loose highlighter, but I still do use it. These shades I just don't really care for at all. And they swatch very nice. They're nice shades, but the actual blendability and stuff are not really things that I can count on. A lot of BH Cosmetics palettes are way better. Also, they fade very quickly. Even the blush especially does, which is gorgeous, but like, it fades in its own one. So I'm going to pass this whole palette along to someone who would like it. Next up is the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. I'm not passing this one along because it is one of my favorite palettes. I have stated that before. I really enjoy it, and I don't want to give this away yet. I might in the future if I like keep using it to the point I am now, because recently I haven't been using this a lot. But as of right now, I'm going to be keeping this. That might change in 2 months in the update video, so like stay tuned. Next up is this Makeup Revolution Mermaids Forever palette. I love the shades in here. The only real problem I have with this palette is the inconsistencies, because like this shade will be good and then you'll go over one shade and it'll be the worst eyeshadow you've ever used. I'm trying to think of one that I remember as terrible. This green is very good. And then let's try this blue. Nope. That's still creamy. Okay, why did I just pick up all the good shades? Here we go, this purple. I can tell by like touching it. I rub my finger in it like crazy. Like I will just like dig into it. And it's barely like popping. I don't know, it could be my skin tone, whatever. But this is that one. That one. Also, I'm pushing down with the same amount of pressure for all of these, and I rub them all quite a bit. Do you see the difference? Like, this one is perfect. This one's meh. This one's like eh, and that one's like terrible. So I don't really like this too much. But at the same time, it's the only shimmery metallic greens I have. and the only metallic blue. So I think I'm going to hold on to this to test it out for a little bit more, and then if I don't end up liking it as I test it out, the more I try to use it, I will definitely pass it along and pick up some singles instead. Next up is the Makeup Revolution Flawless Matte. These also have the major inconsistencies with shadows, but so many of the shades are also similar in here that I feel like if this shade sucks, this shade's almost the same, so I can dupe it. And I think I'm going to keep this one because I actually really like it. I don't know why. There's something about it that I just kind of enjoy. I think I enjoy the small pans and just the diversity in the same colors, I guess. I don't know. It's a really nice, affordable palette, so I would definitely recommend this. So next up, we have that Makeup Revolution palette I was talking about, the Peach palette. This is Neutrals versus Neutrals. I bought this thinking it was a dupe for Sweet Peach. The shades are very inconsistent, as well as the other one that has the only shade in here I want. The only shade. These are like okay, I guess, but I have a dupe for this by ColourPop. This is the only shade I really like in here. It is this beautiful foil brown metallic because I don't use it and I don't need it, and it's kind of stupid to keep on to something I use once every 3 months that I don't even really enjoy when I use, so we're gonna pass this along. And for this one, I think I'll hold on to this a little bit longer, mainly because this was in my like on the go makeup bag for a little bit, so I didn't really touch it because I lost that bag for like 2 months. So I think I will hold on to this, but just to test it out. Next up, we have the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette. Love this. There's no doubt I'm going to keep this. But the real question is, can I dupe this entire palette within the Kat Von D palette? And if the answer is yes, then I may get rid of this. So basically, I think this gray is very close to this grayish brown. They're both very gray browns. This shade can be duped with that one just about. I try to get close, but it doesn't have to be perfect. This one's a little bit lighter than that. I don't really think I have a dupe for this one or this dark brown, black, blue, not blue, brown, black, gray, whatever. So I'm going to put this back to the side, and I will once again decide later since I'm very slow at decisions, but I will be keeping the Kat Von D. My phone glitched and didn't film all of this, and I have already swatched it all, so go me. I'm just gonna move along with it like I didn't already do this. So this is my Buxom Custom palette. I have told you I'm keeping custom palettes, as well as this Tarte box where I keep my Bright Crystal Scent singles. And now we're gonna go on to this Lorac Pro, which I really enjoy and I will definitely be keeping. I was considering like talking about this a little bit longer, but I don't really think there's much more to say about it. This is all over YouTube. If you have watched any YouTube video ever in the beauty community, you've probably heard of this. So I'm gonna just stick that down there as a keep. This is my bulky Batgirl book, and I really enjoyed the shades in here. The shadows and blush is very nice. I haven't really tried anything else besides the shadows and blush, but I really like those, and I have the brush taken out because I love the brush so much. I wish this didn't take up so much space because, like, this is so much. Let me just show you in comparison. Here it is by, like, size, and here it is by thickness. Yeah, it's a large palette, so it does take up a lot of space, but I enjoy it enough that I will keep it for now. Now let's get into my Morphe palettes. I'm not the biggest fan of Morphe shadows, but this one is the one I use the most. This is the Morphe 35B. I would definitely be keeping this because I only use this once every 2 months or so, but I really enjoy it when I do use it, so that makes it personally worth it to me. So the next thing, I also realized I didn't talk about this because it got cut off the film. This is my Naked 3 palette. I love this. I hate it at the same time because the shades aren't that pigmented, but it is the best rose gold palette I have found, so I will be keeping this. Next up is this Morphe 35K, which I swatched right there. I'm going to keep this because it's my only smoky eye palette besides a couple gray shades in the Makeup Revolution one. But I'm going to put this on my Patrol. so to speak, because I don't think it's kind of worth it to keep this if I don't love the shades. Since I am only using those few shades every few months, I could definitely get singles to replicate whatever look I want to pull off with this. So the next palette from Morphe is the 35T. Another one I'm going to be putting on my watch list because these purples are so gorgeous and I use them a lot, but there's only like 8 or so matte shades, and that's not enough for me to want to keep all of these so similar shades that are shiny. So I definitely think I'm going to put this on my watch list. If I don't use this, I'd say 3 times more than I have been lately, then I'm definitely going to be passing it on in my update video. The next one is the Morphe 350. Once again, I thought I would reach for this more, but I haven't since fall is just around the corner. This will be in my update video on whether I kept it or not, because I don't want to pass it along and then regret it because fall time's here and I want to do all the warm brown orangey looks. So the next Morphe palette is the 35N. This is going to be the Morphe palette I am going to for sure get rid of. This is some of their matte shades, and their mattes in this palette aren't nearly on par with any of the other mattes I've tried. I really despise this palette because the shades, they just kind of look nice, kind of, but like they blend away, so to speak. I don't have a brush, so like this is the best I can do, but they kind of blend away and they fade very quickly, and I'm just not the biggest fan, so I will be passing this along to someone who can enjoy it more. The last palette is this e.l.f. palette that is extremely old, extremely gross, and needs to go to a new home, aka the dumpster. So goodbye to you, trusty old friend. You helped me get through ages 9 to 12, and you really did my Abercrombie shirts pop. P.S. That's where I bought this. Bye! This is what it would look like if I were to get rid of all the palettes I'm even questioning getting rid of, and I would have gone from 14 from like 35 palettes, I believe. So that's crazy, but 10 palettes I'm getting rid of. 8 are on watch. Wait, no. This guy was not supposed to be over there. So not 7 palettes I'm getting rid of, 10 on watch, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 I will be keeping. So 15 plus 7 is 22 plus 10. I had 32 palettes, and now I've got maybe this many, maybe these guys. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time on my channel. Please be sure to check out some of my other videos if you like this. If you think I should do more decluttering videos, because I declutter all the time, you should subscribe and comment. And also comment if you want a full review on any of these palettes. So yeah, bye!